We are told that without sleep, the human body breaks down. Science claims you cannot survive more than a few days without rest before the mind begins to collapse. But hidden deep in the countryside of Vietnam lives a man who has defied all logic. Since 1962, he has not slept a single night, not one dream, not one nap, nothing. Doctors were stunned. Scientists traveled thousands of miles to test him, and yet there was no answer. How could a man survive 6 decades without what medicine calls essential for life? Is he a medical anomaly, or proof that the human body hides secrets far beyond what we've been taught? This is not just a story about a sleepless man. It is a window into the hidden potential of human consciousness and the forgotten truths about energy, spirit, and survival. The man's name is Thai Ngoc, though villagers simply call him the sleepless farmer. For decades, he worked his fields from dawn to dusk, never once needing rest. Neighbors recall that at first they didn't believe him. They thought it was just a strange story, but as the years passed, they realized it was true. He tills the soil, raises his chickens, walks the mountain roads, all with the same steady rhythm as any other man. Except when the night comes, while the world sinks into dreams, he simply stays awake, fully conscious, fully alive. Doctors ran every test they could imagine: blood samples, brain scans, physical exams. But his body showed no signs of exhaustion, no damage, no illness. Even more strange, his energy seemed equal, sometimes greater, than men half his age. What does this tell us? That perhaps sleep is not just biology, but also a mystery of consciousness. And maybe, within each of us, lies an untapped ability to transcend the limits we've been told are absolute. Science, of course, tries to explain it. Neurologists point to damaged circuits in the brain, claiming his ability to live without sleep is simply a strange byproduct of trauma. But their answers always stop short, leaving more questions than they solve. Because if it were just damage, how could his body remain healthy? How could he work, walk, and live like any other man for decades? And here is where the ancient world offers something modern science cannot. In Hindu yogic traditions, there are tales of sages who entered states of turiya, a level of consciousness beyond waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. In Taoist practice, adepts spoke of cultivating an inner rest so profound that the body no longer required ordinary sleep. Could it be that what doctors call damage is, in fact, a doorway into the forgotten capacities of human consciousness? His life becomes a bridge between two worlds, one that insists everything is chemical, and another that whispers we are far more than flesh and neurons. So we must ask, is he an anomaly to be studied or a reminder of something humanity once knew and lost? If this story made you question what's real and what's possible, don't let it end here. Hit subscribe, give this video a like, and share it with someone who thinks they've heard it all. And if you're brave enough, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe he truly never slept, or was it something else entirely? Throughout history, whispers of such abilities have surfaced again and again. In the Himalayas, Tibetan monks are said to practice tummo meditation, generating inner heat so strong they can sit in freezing snow while wrapped only in thin robes. In India, yogis have been documented remaining in trance-like states for weeks, their bodies sustained without food or rest, as if plugged into another source of energy. Western travelers of the 19th century returned with stories of fakirs who appeared to slow their heartbeats, even stopping them, only to revive hours later, as if nothing had happened. Scientists dismiss these accounts as exaggerations, yet the consistency of the testimonies is striking. What ties these stories together is a single thread. The human body seems capable of tapping into hidden reserves, modes of existence that bypass ordinary biological rules. Sleep, hunger, temperature. These were not limitations, but thresholds that could be crossed. So when we look at the man who has not slept for decades, perhaps we are not staring at an impossible anomaly. Perhaps we are glimpsing a very old truth, one remembered by sages and forgotten by the modern world. But with every gift comes a shadow. For while sages spoke of conquering sleep, they also warned of the dangers of tampering with the natural cycles of life. Sleep is not simply rest, it is a passage, a doorway where the soul repairs itself, where the mind dissolves and is renewed. Modern science confirms this. Without sleep, toxins build up in the brain, hallucinations creep in, and the body slowly begins to shut down. Yet the man who never sleeps defies this law. How can that be? Has he found a way to bypass the cleansing rituals of dreams, or is his consciousness paying a hidden price that we cannot see? In mystical traditions, sleep was often linked with the astral world, a nightly journey where the soul reconnects with higher planes. If someone never sleeps, what happens to that journey? Do they remain trapped in waking reality, cut off from visions and guidance? Or perhaps, more chillingly, are they permanently lodged in that twilight state between worlds? The idea that a human can escape sleep may sound like liberation, but it might just as easily be a slow imprisonment, an existence caught outside the rhythms that make us whole. And then comes the story that defies all reason, the tale of a man who, according to witnesses, had not slept for decades. Doctors examined him, scientists doubted him, and skeptics laughed. Yet his eyes remained wide open, his body functioning, his mind eerily sharp. His name was whispered in medical journals and passed around in late-night conversations. Some reports claim he stopped sleeping after a traumatic event. Others suggest he had discovered a hidden technique, an ancient discipline that severed his need for dreams. One physician noted with disbelief that his brain showed none of the expected signs of deterioration, no hallucinations, no organ failure. It was as though he had slipped beyond the biological laws that bind us all. But others were less convinced. Rumors spread that his vitality came at a cost, that shadows seemed to follow him, that his aura carried a heaviness as if unseen entities clung to his wake. To live without sleep, they said, was to live in a constant twilight, never fully in this world, never fully beyond. But the question lingers. What does it mean to live without sleep? Science calls sleep essential, the repair shop of the body and the gateway to dreams. To be deprived of it, even for a week, drives most people into madness. And yet, this man remained. Some spiritual traditions whisper that sleep is not simply rest. It is the nightly journey of the soul, returning to the higher realms to recharge. If that is true, then what happens when someone breaks free from that cycle? Has he transcended the need to reconnect with the divine? Or has he severed it? The legends grow darker. Witnesses spoke of his eyes, always open but never quite human, like windows into a space where time itself had unraveled. Others claim his presence was unsettling, as though he carried with him the weight of unspoken truths. In the silence between heartbeats, a thought emerges. Perhaps the man who never sleeps is not gifted, but cursed. For while the world closes its eyes and finds refuge in dreams, he walks alone in endless waking, an eternal stranger in the land of shadows. And so, his story lingers like a riddle carved into the edge of reality. Was he a miracle of human endurance, or a cautionary tale that science cannot explain? To this day, no medical record, no researcher has been able to fully account for how he lived without the very thing all life depends upon: sleep. Some call him a hoax, others a saint, and some whisper he may not have been entirely human at all. Perhaps he was chosen, or cursed, to walk the line between worlds, one foot in the waking reality, the other in a place where the rest of us can only wander in dreams. The deeper question is not about him, but about us. If one man can defy the laws of nature, then how fragile are those laws? What else do we believe to be absolute, only to discover one day that it was never as solid as we thought? Maybe that is why his tale survives, because it forces us to confront the unknown, to question the prison bars of certainty. For in the end, the man who never slept reminds us of a truth both haunting and liberating, that reality is far stranger than we dare to imagine. If the human mind can truly unlock such hidden powers, what else have we been told is impossible, just to keep us asleep?